Hey everybody, thanks for joining another edition of Low Budget Time. Today we're going to talk about the Ocean One 500 Titanium, or I think that's the way you describe the watch. This watch is not it's not a new watch in that it's not a new model, and it's actually, this watch is not really a new watch. It's new to me because recently I did a trade with another enthusiast through one of the Facebook pages, and I traded a Ocean 39 Premium Blue. I wasn't wearing the watch much, and I'm not really that crazy about 39 millimeter, at least not when it's the Steinhart 39. It's nothing against the Steinhart 39 millimeter. It's just that for that watch, I prefer a larger case. So I like the 42s a little bit better. I'm probably in the minority because I think most people actually prefer the smaller watches. I don't know if they're outselling the 42, but it would seem to me that, like, if you go to Gnomon, that's Gnomon, that's their Singapore distributor, you'll notice that there's a lot more variations of the Ocean One as far as like different styles, basically model numbers across the board that you can get in the 39 millimeter category. So it's kind of strange that I guess the trend is smaller watches now. I mean, I don't know. It's 42 millimeters to me doesn't seem to be all that it's not super large, but I think the reason that they do that is, if you think about it, Rolexes today, I think, are 40 millimeter, and I think that they kind of want to get away from they don't want to be 40, they don't want to be 41, they want to stay away from all of the different, I guess, case sizes that Rolex would have been using. I guess they really want to stay away from possible, copyright infringement and stuff like that. Honestly, I don't see, people always talk about, oh, I can't wear a watch that's a replica like that, or a homage or whatever. Well, actually, there's a difference between a replica watch and a homage watch. I mean, if you think about it, I'm going to talk more about this in a future episode, but I'm going to kind of skim across it right now. A homage watch would be like if you take a design, like let's say the Submariner, which most people use that as that's like their base to start. Like, they're going to start designing a dive watch using this. They have the Submariner in mind, but they don't want to copy it. So what do? So this watch is a good example of what you can do you get close to the sub feel, but you don't step on the sub as far as, like, we're not going to make a replica of it. A replica would be like a one-to-one copy, where a homage just takes different design elements, like, I don't know. If you think about this watch, the design elements that it's going to take from the sub is its case is very similar, very sub-like. The dial indices are kind of sub-like, but I'm going to speak more about what makes this watch so much different. Not just the material, it being titanium, but honestly, just the way it wears, everything about this watch. It should be, I think people should really look at this watch as Steinhart's original, even though there are some things about the watch that kind of step into the Rolex sphere of, is it a replica? Is it a homage? In this sense, I don't even know that this is really a homage, because Rolex doesn't make a watch that looks like this. So let's just get that out in the open. Okay, let's talk about the materials, the way that the watch wears, the retail value if you were to buy it new, and why I think that this watch is really just a really cool watch, as far as the way that you don't even really know. I mean, you have it on the wrist, but it's about 40% lighter than that of stainless steel. So the watch's dimensions are 42 millimeters, so it is a 42 millimeter case. They do make it's the height of 14 0.85. And then the lug to lug on it's about, I would say either 50, it's probably 50. Because this watch is, even though it looks a lot like the regular Ocean ones, it's a little bit different. The specifications, other than it being 42 millimeters, it's pretty close. But this uses a domed sapphire crystal, and it has a ceramic bezel insert that is very different than what you're going to see on a regular Ocean One. It has a 120 click unidirectional bezel that's also titanium, and you can see there's no back play in it. Actually, when I got this watch, the bezel was frozen, and it just wouldn't move. So I reached out to the original owner and I said, "Hey man, what's going on with this bezel?" He's like, "I don't know." He's like, he's like, "My son plays with it sometimes at church." He's like, "But it always moved." He's like, "Just run some hot water under it and maybe that'll free it up." And I did. I don't know if maybe there was some dirt got underneath the bezel or something got under there. I don't know. But what I did was I blew it out with some compressed air, and then I added a little bit of watchmaker's lubricant, which basically, if you're wondering what that watchmaker's lubricant is pretty much this. I got this from Amazon, and it gives you like a when you pull this off, let me just pull it off real quick. When you pull that off, it's literally a needle, so you can kind of guide how much lubricant that comes out. So what I usually do is I put a little bit on the crown tube thread. It makes it just a little easier for the crown to screw back on, and then I put a little bit underneath the bezel itself. So what I did was I dabbed a couple here, and then on both sides right there, and then I kind of put it upside down overnight, and then next day I was able to really work in it, and every day I would turn it a few times just to get that the lubrication moving around the way it should. But that is it freed it up, and it's been great ever since. I've been wearing this watch every day. Its accuracy is spot on. I haven't had to adjust it. I would say, if anything, it's probably about +1, maybe +2 to 3 seconds a day. I don't have a time grapher, so I can't actually confirm that, but it's running really well, and I haven't had to adjust it. So it's not losing any time. The movement in it is a high beat, 28,800 vibrations per hour, Sellita SW300. It is a decorated movement, and you can actually see that through the case back. You can see, it's got the Steinhart signed rotor in there, and pretty cool. It's got some perlaging on that. I guess that's a bridge, and it's a nice watch. This watch retails brand new for I think around $700, maybe $650. I'm not sure. I know that there was an adjustment in prices. There was a large price increase due to the tariff issue, but now the tariffs are, I guess, off on Swiss-made products such as watches. So now it's back to normal. So now the pricing, Mr. Steinhart adjusted the prices to be more back in line. I think it's a little over 600. It's probably about 650 if I had to guess. The watch's clasp on here is it's another low point, and I want to talk more about the clasp, but you can see it's just a friction lock clasp, and that's how it looks. I'm going to talk about the material now. Okay, so if you're not used to titanium, and this is the first experience I've ever had with titanium watches, I wasn't sure I was going to like titanium. I'm like, man, is it going to feel like it's cheap? That's usually what people think when they hear, oh, it's going to be titanium, it's going to be very light, it's going to give the air of it not being premium quality. If that were true, if heavy meant quality, then Invicta would be like top of the line, right? It's not. You can make a really heavy watch that's basically a piece of garbage, because to me, when I think about the watch, what am I thinking of first? I always think of the movement. The movement is what makes the watch a watch, right? First, number one. Everything else comes second. Fit, finish, that kind of thing. Yes, those things are very important, but if you have a watch that you can't service or you have a hard time servicing, such as some in-house movements that are from these micro brands, you got to be careful with that stuff because it really limits where you can get the watch serviced, how you can get it serviced, possible future issues with parts, that kind of thing. Anyway, back to the titanium. So the titanium is very light. Not only that, but if you were to put this watch in, let's say a watch box, and you don't wear it for a few months, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4, the titanium will start getting darker. I don't know if it's some type of an oxidation. I haven't read enough about the metallurgy of titanium to really understand what's going on. But when I got this watch, it was kind of dark. It had a few scratches on it. One of the scratches was kind of like a dig. This much you should know about titanium. It for some reason it scratches much easier in stainless steel. It's harder, but from a surface level it scratches easier. I can't understand that. Titanium is like a space age alloy. It's very plentiful. It's used in medical, aerospace, and watches. I've had some pieces of jewelry that were titanium, but titanium will get like a darker gray. So what I did when I got the watch, the first thing I did was I took some Scotch-Brite. It's the dark gray Scotch-Brite, and I went over the entire watch with that. The watch was in pretty good condition when I got it, but I just wanted to hit some spots that had a few scratches, and it got the scratches out. I have heard people say that you can use like a pencil eraser, like the square erasers that had like the wedge eraser. They say that you could get the marks and things out with that and bring it back to color. I don't know how that works. I don't know if it's a chemical reaction or it just doesn't make any sense. It's an eraser. It's a very soft compound. So how would that work? I don't know. But I used Scotch-Brite, and it basically keeps the striations because it is finished where, I don't know if you can see that, but it has like a satin finish. So what I do is I go with the striations. I did use a green Scotch-Brite for some of the parts that were like, I had, let me see what side that is. Right here on this flank, I had there's a couple pocks in there. I don't know if the camera's going to catch it. Probably not. But it was a couple pocks in there, and I tried to get in, and I tried to get it out as much as I could. And it's acceptable, but it's not perfect. Now, I have to remember that this watch is 8 years old. This watch is a 2018, and it's coming up on 8 years old, right? But I don't believe he wore the watch every day. I think it was just in his rotation. And over time, the clasp has gotten a little weak. There's times when it pops open on me. I don't know if my like when I have my heavier coat on it, if it's rubbing against the fold over safety, sometimes it'll pop open. So what I did was I reached out to Steinhart and I got this. This is what it looked like. You see how dull that is? Well, that's what this watch looked like, and that's you can see it doesn't look like that now. See how much? If you leave this alone and you leave it sit, this is just a clasp I got to replace at some point. I'm going to swap it out. I'm going to talk more about the possibility of doing another clasp that I don't have it with me today, but I'm thinking about getting it, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. This is the gray that it's going to be. It's going to be kind of dull, almost bead blasted looking. So this is a brand new clasp that you can get from Steinhart, and then I ordered a few screws. These are also titanium. I used those. There was a couple screws that were kind of jacked up, and then another thing that I was able to order, and this is where I'm going to segue into the possibility of changing out this clasp for one that's dual push button with a fold over safety from Long Island Watch. Mark over there has a Islander. I think it's branded Islander, so you have that little Islander symbol on the clasp. So for me, I don't really care about that. That's fine. I would prefer that it wouldn't have anything on it at all. But the clasp that he's offering it's 18 millimeter, because that's the size of this clasp. It's like a V clasp. So the outer shell is actually titanium, while the inside, the internals are actually stainless steel. Where this thing is completely titanium, like the shell, the internals, the whole 9 yards. But that's something for another video down the road. I might do a short that talks about that. I don't have the clasp handy right now to talk about, but I'm just going to mention it. I may do that in the future. That's why I got this. This is what they call a half link, or it's a flat link. Let me take it out so you can see what I'm talking about, and why I think you may be able to, get away from using that. You're going to get away what it is. They gave a new spring bar and everything with this, so I got to be careful when I'm opening it. All right, so let me get it open. Okay, so this is titanium. Okay, so you're going to need that. You're going to need two of those. So you already have one in, no buddy. You already have one here. You already have one inside that shell. That's right there. That is the other one. So you need two, because the new clasp is going to require two of those, one on either side, to do the clasp upgrade. So that's all I'm going to say about that. That's what's going to be required if you should decide to change the clasp out on your titanium 500. But let's talk more about the titanium 500. So we already talked about the specs. We talked about the material, the way that it's finished. We did kind of skim over that, but let's talk more specifics about the dial, the insert, what's cool about it, what's different about it. So on the original Ocean Ones, it's going to be just a flat matte. It's a matte dial in there, and those dials are, believe it or not, those dials are actually made from they're brass, and I made reference to that in another video where I talked about the two Ocean Ones that I showed. I was talking about the longevity, the way that the build quality, and those watches are still made that way today. So he doesn't give you, those watches to me are really mid-tier watches. They're not high end and they're not low end. They're something in the middle. So that's why I think what you're getting with Steinhart all the way around is you're getting a great watch for not a lot of money. It's actually, you're saving a lot of money, because some watchmakers would probably charge you a few thousand for something like this, where Mr. Steinhart's only charging you less, not even $1,000. It doesn't even cost $1,000. But so again, you got a chapter ring in here, and the chapter ring is showing increments 15, 25, 35, 45, 55, so on, right? Whereas the bezel has the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, right? So the chapter ring is alternating or alternate time markings on the chapter ring inside. You can see there that it shows titanium 500 in there. 500 meaning that they're claiming that the watch is 500 meters capable. Where I didn't understand, or what I didn't understand, was how you can have a watch that's capable of 500 meters and have an exhibition case back. I thought, well, that's bringing, like, I would think that case back there, like, it's not a solid case back. So how do you get that kind of water resistance? I don't know. I'm not going to say that Steinhart is incorrect about it. I believe that they are correct. I believe that they did test this watch to 500. So I know of no other watches that are capable of that depth that have an exhibition case back. Now, do I care about the exhibition case back? No, actually, I don't. It's nice, but it's not needed. I've got it on a few watches of mine, and if it didn't exist, would it change anything? No, it wouldn't. I'm sorry, my cat's he's trying to get a hold of some plastic. He likes plastic, and it's driving him nuts. So I think I may have to put the plastic away, so the temptation goes away. Pardon me as I do that. The more that I have it sitting in front of him, the more it's calling his name. So, okay, so that is the story about the the dial, the chapter ring, and all that. You'll notice that the handset on here is like nothing else. They're basically just pickets. It's like a white picket fence, or pickets, or pickets are probably the best way I can describe the way it looks to me. It doesn't look like a sword. It looks like a picket off of a fence. Very plain, kind of not all that much different than what Squale does with their watches. Like, they just use a picket style minute and an hour hand, which is great. And it's got a nice pop of color in there. It's got a blue second hand ticking around there, and I just think they did a nice job with adding a little bit of color. The watch it's really cool. It's a nice watch. I think it's definitely one that's worth putting in your collection. Now, it does have a lumed bezel insert. I don't know if I made reference to that. We're going to take a look at that in a moment. Trying to think if there's anything else that I want to tell you about this watch. It's a nice watch that it really is different than maybe anything that you have in your collection. I think it's enough that it's its own watch. I think it's its own design. I really do believe that. Now, they do have this in a GMT as well, and that's what they call their Batman. It's a really handsome watch, but it's done the same way. You can get it in 42, you can get it in 39. I don't believe you can get a three-hander in the 39. And to my knowledge, I don't think you can. I think it's only available in the 42. But we already talked about the price. We talked about all that. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to shut the lights down. We're going to check the lume, and then we're going to wrap things up with a final thought. Okay. Let me shut some lights down here. All right. Just give it a little bit. All right. So, as you can see, everything's glowing pretty good. And you see you can see the 12 there. You can see the lumed bezel insert. It's pretty nice. Yeah, I mean, it really does. BGW9 Super Luminova is the luminescent material that they use, and it is a pretty cool watch. One of the things that I've read recently from a diver, and I thought I would mention this, some people are hung up on, well, how long does the lume last, and the lume doesn't last that long. I'm not a diver, so whenever I hear something that piques my interest, as far as like if somebody's actually using these watches that we love so much, if they're actually using it for its intended purpose, sometimes somebody will say something that's like, hey, wait a minute, wow, that I never thought of it. Like, maybe it's something that I just never heard anybody say before, but he's like, when you're down there, it's totally dark. Like, it's void of light at all. Like, it's crazy. It's pretty scary, actually. You have to have a bright ass flashlight with you. Like, you have to see where you're going. So even if the watch's dial glowing or not glowing, it's not going to help you worth a shit down there. What they do is they take their light. Usually I believe it's strapped to a wrist, and they pretty much position it against the, you saw what it looked like when I had the light flash to get, it kind of like, you couldn't see it. Like if you were to take this, and this is on your wrist, in fact, I'm going to put it on now, and if you did this with the flashlight like that, and you're under the water, chances are you may not be able to really make out what the time is. So by hitting the light on the dial for like, I don't know, a second or two and pulling it away, he only needs literally a second of illumination. He doesn't need the thing to be going for hours down there, because chances are he's going to have to do that again. Would it help if it lasted for hours? Well, yeah, absolutely. It would, it would probably give him peace of mind. He didn't have to light that up. But he's got the flashlight anyway. He has to have a flashlight down there. Even you could be swimming in if he's in a situation where, let's say it's in the evening or something like that, the sun's not out, or let's just say you're doing a night dive. That's when this is really going to be in effect, right? But I think things are kind of murky underwater anyway, even in the best conditions. So, it would stand to reason that people make a big deal about Lume's longevity in a way it dies out. I don't think it matters that much. I think he only needs it to illuminate for literally a couple seconds. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there because I just found that piece of information very useful. I saw somebody talking about it on one of the dive watch forums, and it kind of piqued my interest. I'm like, wow, okay, I never noticed that. I'm never going to dive. I mean, for me, I just like the tool watches. I like the tool watch aesthetic, and that's pretty much it. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you're not subscribing to Low Budget Time, hit the subscribe button. I got about 81 members now. It's pretty good. Like I said, I never really expected that I would even have 80 subscribers, but I do. And I appreciate every one of you guys. I do. I'm not trying to, like I said before, I'm not trying to build this thing into, I'm not trying to be the next big thing. I'm a novice like you guys. I probably know maybe just as much, maybe less, maybe more, depends on who's watching. But I don't claim to be a watch expert. And I do make mistakes. So if I did make a mistake today on something, call me out. I feel like I know enough about this watch that I wouldn't make a mistake, but it is possible. And if I did, you're more than welcome to, to call me out on it. One of the things that I wish this watch had, and then I'll let you go, I really wish it had drilled lugs. I mean, I've been on that drilled lug kick for a while, and I just, for the life of me, I can't figure out why these companies that make these tool watches make them without drilled lugs. Drilled lugs, yes, it's a hole on either side of the flank so you can access the spring bar to take the watch band off. But it's so much easier to do it when, and I think the reason why they don't do it is because if you think about it, when the cases are in manufacture, there are things that they look for from a quality perspective, like, is the watch, did it pass this, did it pass that? And then the lugs being either off or, out of center or out of, so when you put the end link in, everything has to line up. So if, that could cause QC issues, which I think affects the price ultimately of the cases, because you have to QC these things. You can't just put them out there and then assemble a watch and then find out later, oh shit, it doesn't work. It doesn't fit. And I think that's important. It's important to understand that. So anyway, that's all I got for today, guys. As always, take care, stay safe, be well. I'll see you guys in the next episode of Low Budget Time. Take care.